we got to talk about another team that's struggling. The Carolina Panthers were defeated by the Minnesota Vikings in overtime, 34-28. That loss marked their third straight loss, and everybody's trying to figure out, Panthers fans trying to figure out what's going on. Why are they on a 3-game losing streak? A team that started out the season 3-0. And it's definitely not because of the defense. It's because the offense doesn't really have an identity. And Matt Rule pretty much said this in one of his pressers. He pretty much said that, we got to find our identity on offense. But one of the biggest reasons for why the Carolina Panthers have been on a 3-game losing streak is because Sam Darnold has not played well during this 3-game losing streak for Carolina. When Carolina started the season out 3-0, Sam Darnold threw for 888 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, was completing 68.2% of his passes. During this 3-game losing streak, Sam Darnold has completed 55% of his passes. He's thrown 4 touchdowns to 6 interceptions and has thrown for 685 passing yards during this losing streak. So Sam Darnold hasn't really done a good job of taking care of the football. And there was a graphic that came up when I was watching the first half of this game earlier this morning, because I only watched the second half, but I watched the first half of this game, tried to see what I missed. Sam Darnold, his career record when he only has 1 turnover or less, he's 16-13. When he has 2 or more turnovers, he's 0-14. So he's not taking care of the football. And on top of that, I feel like Sam Darnold has a good amount of potential, but sometimes he gets really reckless with the football. He tries to do too much. He tries to be Superman, and it ends up costing him a lot. Like, one example, the first interception that he threw in this game, it was a pass that never should have been thrown. He was trying to make something happen instead of throwing the ball away, and it cost him an interception. And when you're Carolina, you can't turn the football over, have Sam Darnold turning the football over this much, and then ask your defense to go back on the field and get stops. Like, Carolina isn't going through a 3-game losing streak because their defense has not played great. Their defense has played phenomenal so far this season. As a matter of fact, I would go as far to say that the Panthers have had a top 5, top 3 defense this year. What's caused them is the turnovers and the offense. And I'm not just going to put it all on Sam Darnold. Joe Brady also has to do a better job calling plays. His play calling has kind of been questionable. He has some great moments during games where you're like, oh man, that was an incredible play call. Then here have some moments he's like, man, why would we do that? But also Robbie Anderson. What's happened to Robbie Anderson? If I recall, didn't Robbie Anderson get like an extension not too long ago? Where has he been? Last week this past Sunday against Minnesota, he had a lot of drops. He also dropped a key 3rd down conversion, I believe. So where's Robbie Anderson? He's a deep threat. You have to get him involved some way, somehow. Try to get a jet sweep. Try to get a bubble screen going. Like, Robbie Anderson isn't a wide receiver that you're going to say, hey man, I need you to run all these different kind of routes. Robbie Anderson is a wide receiver who you either get the ball to him in space, try to get him involved using a bubble screen, or 2, you try to run a fly or post route or try to throw the football to him downfield and let him kill these defensive backs and these corners or that are matched up and guarding him with his speed. I feel like the Carolina Panthers offense right now, they're doing a lot of things wrong. I really feel like they're not maximizing the most out of their personnel. I also would like to see them give Chuba Hubbard more touches. I feel like Chuba Hubbard has a similar skill set to Christian McCaffrey. Okay, I feel like Chuba Hubbard is a little bit underrated when it comes to his pass catching. I really feel like Chuba Hubbard should be the focal point of the Panthers offense. He needs to have at least 25 to 30 touches right now. That's what he should be averaging. I know that may be hard to ask a rookie to do that, but I mean, Najee Harris is doing it, and Chuba Hubbard, I think he can do the similar things that Christian McCaffrey can do. Now, he can't do it at as high as a level that Christian McCaffrey can't do those things, but Chuba Hubbard is really good. And I definitely feel like Joe Brady and Matt Rule need to make him the focal point of the offense, because I don't really think asking Sam Darnold to throw the football 40 times is a winning recipe. As a matter of fact, if you're Carolina, Matt Rule, and Joe Brady, I think they should kind of do what Sean Payton has done with Jameis Winston. When you look at what Jameis Winston has done with New Orleans, he hasn't really had many games when he's been asked to throw the football that much. As a matter of fact, the most that he's thrown the football probably was like 30 times or 24 times. So Jameis Winston, most of the time, is only throwing the football, 20, 21 times a game. So if you're Carolina, I don't think that Sam Darnold needs to be throwing the football more than 30 times a game. I think the max that Sam Darnold should be dropping back and passing the football should at least be 24, 25 pass attempts at max. Okay? Because Chuba Hubbard is more than capable of being able to get the job done on the ground. Also try to get him out wide. Try to get him a little bit more involved in the passing game. I just feel like Carolina has really underutilized Chuba Hubbard, and I feel like they're kind of overlooking him a little bit. I feel like they don't really trust him like how they should. So give Chuba Hubbard some more touches with the football, man. I'm a big Chuba Hubbard fan. I was really big on him coming out of Oklahoma State. You got to use this man. He's been really effective. Now, with the Joe Brady scenario, there's been some rumors that maybe he could go back to LSU and whatnot. I don't think he's going back to LSU. I think he's going to try to stay in the NFL and get an NFL head coaching job. But right now, none of that really matters because the play calling hasn't really been all that great. Now, for this defense has pretty much been carrying this team on their back. They've been first in turnovers. You also have Brian Burns, who's been outstanding this year. You also have Hassan Reddick, who's been outstanding this year. You also had the recent acquisitions of corners Stephon Gilmore and CJ Henderson. So this is a really talented defense. And I'm kind of surprised that this offense still, out of nowhere has just kind of hit the brakes. And now they're trying to repair their car on the side of the road. We're at a point in the season that you kind of have to have some urgency. This is not the point of the season where you want to start struggling. And every Panthers fan before the season started was getting at me talking about some, JT, how do you feel about the Carolina Panthers? And I was telling people, dude, it's only week 3, week 4. Everybody was coming out saying the Panthers are Super Bowl contenders. You had people asking, are the Panthers Super Bowl contenders? And I was sitting here telling people no, just give everything some time. That's why you never see me come out with, presumed to be hot takes or any strong takes about how I feel about how good a team's chances are at winning the Super Bowl until around this time of the season. Around middle October, late early November is where we start to see the pretenders separate themselves from the contenders. Okay? So when you look at Carolina, they looked really good the first 3 games. But at the same time, let's not act like the Panthers didn't play the Jets. They played the Saints without, 7 of their coaches not being there on staff. And then on top of that, you play the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans have pretty much been, one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. Now the schedule has started to pick up. I was really surprised that they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. As a matter of fact, the Philadelphia Eagles came back on Carolina, a game that Carolina definitely should have won. And you look at this Vikings game, they should have won that game. They could have won the Dallas game. When you look at these losses that Carolina are suffering, and really these are games that are being tightly contested, come down to one possession, 1 or 2 plays, and Carolina could easily still be undefeated, but they're not. And I told people, this offensive line still is an issue. This offensive line is not good. I think I saw a report come out the other day saying that the Carolina Panthers would not hesitate to trade for some more offensive linemen and get some more offensive line help. I think that's really important also because when you go back and you look at this Minnesota game, let's not act like Sam Darnold was throwing out of clean pockets for the whole entire game. Sam Darnold was having a couple of plays when he had to improvise and he didn't really have a lot of time. Minnesota was getting after Sam Darnold, okay? Now, for Sam Darnold, I feel like it would be unfair for me to just talk about all the bad and not the good because he had a really nice dart it was like what was it? He threw a nice pass late in the game to keep the drive alive to the tight end. It was an absolute dart on the money, a really great throw. So when you see Sam Darnold, you see a lot of negatives, but you also see a lot of good, and that's just the Sam Darnold experience. But I definitely feel like Sam Darnold can turn it around, but I definitely don't really like the fact that Carolina is trying to find their identity on offense at this point of the year. I kind of feel like if you were going to struggle, you should struggle when the season first starts. I don't really understand why this team starts out hot and then all of a sudden they go on a 3-game losing streak and now they don't know who they are on the offensive side of football. So they have to get that taken care of. But I definitely feel like the key to that is getting Chuba Hubbard more involved. And even though the offensive line is great, like still, if you give Chuba Hubbard the ball, like he's going to make the most out of it. Like Chuba Hubbard so far this year, like I think he, last game, let me check, 3.8 yards per attempt. So, I mean, yeah, they're trying to get him involved and stuff like that. You can say, well, JT, I mean, like, the run blocking isn't great. But if you're going to tell me that, okay, what's the excuse for not trying to get him involved in the passing game? Why can't you line him out, let him run a couple of bubble screens here and there? Like, I feel like Chuba Hubbard can be really effective if you line him out wide as well. But, I mean, I really feel like Carolina is now starting to lose a little bit of steam. It was one of them teams that, a lot of people were quick to jump on. They were overreacting, and now they're starting to crash back down just like the Denver Broncos are. So you guys let me know how you guys feel down in the comment section about the Carolina Panthers struggles. What are the reasons that you guys have for why this Carolina Panthers team is struggling? Do you think that Carolina should make a change at quarterback? Should the Carolina Panthers start PJ Walker? You guys let me know down in the comment section down below. Now,